I've read the saying, hire for character and then train the skill rather than hiring someone who's skillful but has poor character. St. Louis is, for Bosnians, it's the second best place to live.
And a lot of them live there, right?
Yeah.
Approximately how much?
They say it's the largest Bosnian population outside of Bosnia.
How did the whole idea of BHX begin?
The idea is 100% on my father. Mm-hmm. He was in trucking for 15-ish years, and he saw an opportunity with the cargo vans. Mm-hmm. So he had suggested, that we do that. He sold his truck, or he purchased a Sprinter van.
New week, new story, new on the road episode. I'm your host Vedad. We are here in the capital, Bosnian capital, in the office of Royal Blue Services.
Real set, not a green screen.
Indeed, indeed. You can feel it, you can see it. It's beautiful.
You could smell, lick, but maybe don't.
We're not going to be doing that today. Not today.
Next week's episode.
This is huge. This is the day we've been waiting for. This is the man.
Enormous.
This is the man that everyone wanted me to spend some time with, to ask some questions, and to have a good time with. So, Mr. Aldin Hadzic with me in the office here today, an on the road episode. Aldin, welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Vedad. It's the pleasure is all mine. To be able to spend this wonderful Wednesday morning with you. Words escape me, to beautify what you just said.
Do you know how long we have waited for this one?
35 years.
35 years?
Right.
Wow. I think the amount of impatience or excitement could equal to that amount of time.
It's I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. How are you today? How was the week so far? What you've been doing?
The week is good. It's I have less than a week. Actually, no, I'm flying back to the US in exactly a week. On Wednesday of next week. I've been here for 2 months, 2.5 months almost. It's always great to be here with this energy, with this, with the raw living, office that we have that's literally 24/7, never stops. I go back to the U.S. and over there, it's me, Hamida, Azra, and my father Zaim working in the office. So it's a very, very different feel, because I'll be the one that unlocks the door in the morning, and I'm there alone for a bit, and then at the end of the day I lock the door and go home, and I'm usually alone when I do that. And when drivers show up, it's always weird for them, and you get these panic looks, like, are you the guy?
One-man team.
Are you the whole operation? So while I'm here, in the next couple days, we are hoping to record some kind of a video where we do a walkthrough of this office, and its purpose will be just for drivers to kind of see, who is dispatching them, where it's at, show them, that it's in the heart of Europe, that it's in Sarajevo, kind of do a drone footage showing the city, showing the office zoomed in, showing, walking around the office, just so they understand, it's a really nice, it's a really cool setup we have here, and giving them that confidence, that it's not just one guy, or a handful of people that are looking.
In a basement.
In a basement somewhere.
That would be wonderful, and they get a chance to meet the team as well. And I always wondered if people ever asked you, and I believe they did since you just brought that up, you know, when they meet up with you in St. Louis, they see just you and maybe Hamida or Azra or Zaim. Do they ever ask, like, you know, where is the rest of the team? Because they hear, you know, they speak to us on a daily basis.
I mean, sometimes I tell them that I just, you know, have a multiple personality disorder, and I'm actually the recruiter that they spoke with, and I'm the person that referred them, and I'm the driver, you know. But no, people ask because when you get, you know, when you come there, it's not what they expect. Although a lot of times throughout the recruiting process, we inform them, you know, this is our setup. We have 2 offices. We have one in the U.S. and we have one in Bosnia. And then there's also, you know, there's a lot of online, you know, footage from Royal Blue Services, so they can kind of connect it. But yeah, definitely. And, you know, we've had people that come from bigger carrier companies, and, you know, they come from a place that has, you know, 2 large buildings with over 100 employees working there. So it's when they come to our office and there's, you know, 1 to 4 people that greet them, it's a different feel, you know. So we want to find ways to kind of combat that, to, you know, show them that it's the same quality or it's better quality than what you're even used to, but it's just in a different location.
Right.
Because I think quality-wise, I think what we do with BHX through Royal Blue Services is superior to 99% of the industry. I think the way we approach customers and drivers and tasks, and the professionalism and the continuous training and re-education, and, you know, just our overall philosophy on doing the job, I think it's night and day, you know, compared to what a lot of others are doing. So, you know, it's very important to show people that. Once they start, they see it, you know, because they call in and they see how quickly we respond and how quickly we help them with whatever problem they have. They see what type of loads we're finding for them, you know, they see how we treat them with respect and all that. But that's after they've already started, you know. So just to kind of give them that confidence when they start.
From the start.
Yeah.
Good. You mentioned this thing a lot of time. Last year you've been here for about 4 months, right? This year it's a little shorter, I believe.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people, including yourself, mention the energy level, the atmosphere that we have in this office. Despite this job, you know, carrying a lot of stress, the atmosphere that we have here is kind of combating that. Aldin, you feel the change when you go back to St. Louis.
I do.
Everything changes for you. So I want to ask you, how do you feel this energy and this atmosphere while you're staying here with us?
So you come in, you do the night shift, Bosnian time.
Right.
Which is 1:30 until 1:30 Central Time, US. So it's not really the night American shift. It's like a late second shift. But anyways, you come in when everyone is here, you feel the energy, and then you see everybody closing the door and leaving. So it's very similar, I would say, except that I don't even get that first, you know, 2-hour high that you have. It's just, you know, mostly the emptiness. Even with, you know, when we do have the 3-4 other people there, it's not the same energy, you know, because everyone is sort of in their task, and we have, you know, the meetings and we get together and we talk and chat and all that. But it's hard to replace, you know, 15 people being in an office at the same time with the excitement of booking loads and all of that. So yeah, it's a different energy for sure.
Right. What happens when you go back? Do you miss the team? Like, does that instantly kick in, or do you start counting the days to the next?
Yeah, man. We have a really good team. We've been able to, get everybody on the same page about the bigger picture and the bigger focus. And not just everybody kind of working for themselves and not caring about, the overall success or failure of others. So yeah, it's a good team. I definitely, miss the presence of people and the relationships that are built and the live environment. Mm-hmm. But we have, obviously, we combat that as much as we can through Zoom and through regular meetings and conversations and all that kind of stuff that goes with it.
Right. It's not quite the same, but it kind of keeps you going, right?
Yes.
Just like those 2 hours of my shift.
It's like a little lifeline that drips water one drip at a time until I come back here.
Keeps you in a life, right?
Yes.
Aldin, despite your stay being shorter this year, there was a lot of activity.
There was.
There were 2 team building trips.
Yes.
One of them international, to Turkey,
yes.
to Istanbul. Did you enjoy? What were the best memories you carried?
You participated in both. Which one did you enjoy more?
I enjoyed both. I'm not gonna say one over the other because
it's like kids. You can't pick one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, for real, this is the reason why. This group of people, right? This atmosphere, this energy that we just discussed minutes ago. I feel like no matter where I go with these people, we always make something out of it. We make great time out of it. And destinations that we have been to, they were beautiful, they were fun. But I think what's usually the main reason behind that fun is the people that make that trip.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. So that's why, to me, whether it's here or there, I went with that group of people, and I know in advance I'm going to have good time.
Yeah, and that's not by accident. When we're hiring people, the number one qualifier is character. I've read the saying, hire for character and then train the skill, rather than hiring someone who's skillful but has poor character. Because you can never, it's very difficult to change someone's character, and for a company or an employer to do that, that's what your mom is for, and maybe your spouse, they mold your character over time. But for an employer to try to do that, it's an uphill battle. So, everyone that we've brought on, we have done our best to make sure that it's people that fit the company culture. It's people that are not toxic. It's people that are team players, people that, see that the success of the group is more important than their own success. So yeah, we have that. We have a good, healthy group of people that all get along. We don't have cases where there's bickering, inside the office. Unhealthy, bickering anyways. I think it's impossible to build something big and to do something big without people stepping on each other's toes momentarily. It's almost like if you're not, are you really in it all the way if it's smooth sailing 100% of time, all the time, right?
Right.
If you look at even the biggest, most successful companies or sports teams in the world, there's going to be moments where the two star players are yelling at each other. But there'll be short-lived moments, and then 5 minutes later they're hugging it out and they're celebrating. Because
they ultimately share the same vision, same path.
Yes,
yeah.
Same passion.
Yes.
So we have that, we've built that. I look around and I speak with applicants from other companies, and you hear all kinds of nightmare stories, you know, of people that are sabotaging each other, people that don't want to help each other, people that, you know, withhold information, people that almost guide their colleague to make a mistake in order to, you know, for them to look better. We've been able to, you know, thankfully keep those individuals out of our company and keep those ways of thinking out of our company. And we've done that through, you know, various ways. We've added different incentives. We've always made sure all incentives are team-based.
Yes.
You know, so if we're shooting to have a big week, we are shooting to have a big week. It's not, you know, Vedad needs to do better than this guy, and then they're, you know, wanting each other to succeed in one hand, but then on the other hand they're thinking, well, you know, I want you to succeed, but not
to some extent, not
right, like not over me, you know, just be a notch under me and we're good. So, but back to the trips. The trips were awesome. Istanbul was great.
Biggest memories from the trip?
Well, we went to Aldin Hadzic, which is like a local team building. I don't know, how would you define that place? It's not
resort?
Resort, sure.
Yeah.
And they offer opportunities for team building. You know, they have sports facilities and soccer fields and conference rooms and all that. It's funny. Usually, the best memories are not, you know, the flashiest ones. So we did about 3 hours probably of Pictionary, and I think for me that was probably one of the better memories. Just seeing people completely come out of their shell, and you know. Yeah, do things that you know you'd never see them do at work.
I think we were drawing stranger things than shells, but
yes,
it was fun. It was
awesome.
Aldin, speaking of Istanbul, what did you enjoy the most over there? How did that trip go for you?
Well, we sailed.
You mentioned smooth sailing earlier. In Istanbul, we literally sailed.
We literally sailed. It was awesome all around, honestly. I mean, seeing, you know, buildings that have been there for whatever, hundreds or in some case thousands of years. There's just a spirit to a city like that. You just feel some energy when you walk into certain places or when you're in certain parts of the city. So that was great. I mean, walking into Hagia Sophia in particular, you know, looking up, and it's so grand and so big that you literally can't, you know, grasp its size in comparison to yours. You know, if somebody gave me a piece of paper and asked me to draw myself compared to it, I couldn't get the portions down, right? That's how grand and big it is.
Right. I remember one of your lines when we were inside. At one moment you were looking all around yourself and you were saying, I quote, "Man, you cannot comprehend the size of it."
Right, and that's I felt the same way in 2012 when the first year I got married. We went to Hajj. And going to Medina in particular, the gates around the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ were the same thing. Like I had not understood prior how big they were, and standing in front of it, and it's this gate I have no idea the number of how big it is, but it felt like the size of a skyscraper, you know, all around was kind of the same experience.
Wow. Hagia Sophia on one hand, the Blue Mosque on the other. Which one did you like more?
Blue Mosque is under construction, so from outside you understand its beauty, but you walk in and it's so guarded and it's so closed off that you feel like you're, you know, in Royal Blue Services building.
Even though we're not under construction.
But you definitely inside you're able to enjoy And even from the outside, I don't know. I plead the
From
fifth.
the outside, I believe so. When we were inside the Blue Mosque, you said it's kind of hard to
Do you
grasp.
quote again? Are you?
I'm quoting you again.
Wow.
You said this. It's kind of hard to grasp the size of it, but you can see pieces of beauty peek through the construction site.
That sounds like something I would say. So
Yeah, I was accurate to the word.
Good.
Speaking of these lines that I'm quoting, and speaking about the whole Istanbul trip, BHX social media channels will be releasing the highlights of the trip very soon. So everyone, including yourself, everyone is going to have a chance to see some of those moments. So it's going to be out there.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I think Nureddin is finalizing that video. It's you have to be intentional to really capture things in the moment. We just had a family gathering, and my father made sure that we take this huge 40-person picture. And getting people to stop what they're doing to come and take this picture is almost awkward, almost annoying. You feel like you're like annoying people when you ask, like, hey, put down your burek and come take this picture, But it's one of those things, once it's done, every single person appreciates it, So same thing with these trips, and I hope that in the future, once we can be even better at recording these memories.
Let's talk about what we're here for, the main reason. We have Aldin in the room. The atmosphere is very tense.
Very tense.
Everyone is waiting for the answer that they wanted to get. And I wanna dive deeper into this personal side now, because this is a very unique and special chance to do that.
Let's dive.
I know I kind of have an idea of some of the activities or interests that you have, but I wanna get the full picture. Interests, hobbies, activities. How do you spend your free time? What do you do?
Interests, sports, mostly watching UFC or MMA. A little bit soccer, a little bit basketball. Used to love American football when St. Louis had a team. Had a team. I think 2 years ago they moved back to LA. Working out when I'm in the US, as you can see by this wonderful physique.
I was convinced.
Running marathons, just writing poetry, stuff like that.
When is the book coming out?
Soon. It'll hit the shelves in the New York Times bestseller list.
Wow.
That's it. And spending time with family, trying to balance that and trying to do it well. I've got 3 kids, and it's easy to, just be in their presence and think that you're spending quality time together, when in reality it's 2 different worlds. Spending quality time is, you really have to be intentional to do it. You really have to be willing to put whatever you're doing on hold. Before you have kids, you just think you're gonna be this super father or super parent who plays with them whatever they want to play and all of that stuff, but the reality is, like, at the age of 35, I'm not that interested in playing with Barbies, right? I'm not that interested in pretending to eat 10 different types of ice cream that my 3-year-old is bringing to me. But that's what they're interested in. That's what they like.
How do you bridge the gap?
So you just have to, understand why you're doing it. You have to do it for, to see the enjoyment and the joy that it brings them. But it's one of those things that I learned was not automatic, right? Like, it's easy to spend time with my son playing FIFA because I like FIFA, he likes FIFA, so it's a good match. But it's hard to play something that he enjoys that I don't care about. Or it's even harder to come up with these things that I have zero interest, you know, like things that I would not do if it wasn't for him. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the free time.
But basically the physical presence is just a small, tiny part of it. But what inspires those moments, what happens, what is it filled with, and how those bonds develop further is what matters.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of times I think people get that confused or whatever, you know, where they want to assume that the physical presence will be enough. And it compared to no presence, I mean, it's huge, but it's just level one.
Right. Not quite there.
I know you're into cars. I know nothing about cars. How do you spend your time?
I like to get up close and personal.
Okay.
With different models. I like to speak with people, you know, because that subject is very deep. It's very huge. There's you know, as you explore through different models, different manufacturing styles, and now especially when you talk about design, customizations, you know, it becomes even bigger. So you know, it's a big subject. Much of it is up to person's taste, because you know, everyone customizes up to their taste. So you're just kind of exchanging different views, different preferences. But
so would you classify yourself as a car guy?
I would,
Okay.
and just like you said, I mean, just like we both said, physical presence, you know, I don't go out there just to walk around the car, see how it is. I wanna sit in, I wanna speak to the guy who owns it, wanna see what he's been doing with it, what is he gonna do next with it, and you know, that's how those conversations go. I spoke with you about cars, remember that?
I do.
And what happened at the end?
I took your advice and I got the car that you suggested.
There you go.
So as a car guy, I'm not a car guy at all. I like toys, and you know, that's how I view a car. If you ask me what type of car I have, I would say a blue one, rather than, you know, if you ask me how many horsepower it has, I 4, 5, I don't know, depending on the day.
Yeah.
I had a Tesla, and it's always you know, a strong response one way or the other from car people about Teslas. You know, some people absolutely hate it, and then some people are kind of amused by it. So where do you stand on the electric car and mostly and mainly? And I actually saw one in Bosnia. I, for some reason, didn't think that they were around here. Yesterday I saw one. Very few.
In fact, I did one research with the Pro Credit Bank in Bosnia about electric cars.
Yeah.
Because Pro Credit supports these models that, you know, go green, and they support the whole concept of electric cars replacing what we have now. Basically, only 9 cars at a time. That was 2019. So
wow.
not too long ago, and I don't think that number has increased drastically, because you know, I think the conditions, the import regulations and everything else that plays part into owning such car are still not you know, at the comfort level for the people to own one.
Yeah.
So how's that going to change down the line? We have yet to see. You know, the entire world is kind of gravitating to that, but Bosnia is still, you know, behind, carefully assessing the situation.
Yeah, I wonder the powers to be that, you know, have a big say in where the trends go. If they have any personal interest to keep electric cars out of Bosnia, or to bring them in. Right, the powerful oil companies or whoever it is, you know, I wonder.
Possibly, who knows?
Yeah,
possibly. How's that in America, though? I believe it is on a much greater scale. I mean, you guys.
It's growing. Yeah, it's growing in popularity. The whole green movement is, in general, you know, growing. So.
How's BHX gonna go green?
How's BHX gonna go green? I don't know. How, do you have any suggestions?
electric spinners.
Do they have them?
I don't think so.
Not
but
yet.
We should look to that direction.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
We should speak to Mercedes about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. St. Louis, right? I wanna understand this, and I think a lot of people wanna understand the differences and the similarities between the life here and the life over there. I think we all can kind of visualize and understand the weather differences, but what about the culture? What about the everyday atmosphere, the people? How does it feel?
Yeah, I mean, St. Louis is, for Bosnians, it's the second best place to live.
And a lot of them live there, right?
Yeah.
Approximately how much?
They say it's the largest Bosnian population outside of Bosnia. The numbers I've heard range from 40,000 up to 70. Now, those have been numbers that have been floating around for 20 years. So I don't know where they would even be now with people having kids and all this stuff that comes with it. Are those kids to be counted among the Bosnian population, or?
We're not gonna give up on them.
Yeah?
No.
It's always interesting, because there's a big push to not have people just assimilate and become American Bosnians. The thing is, no people before us has been able to do that. Right, from the different people that are migrated to the U.S. And now, if you ask somebody with a German last name, they say, yeah, I'm from Chicago. They wouldn't say, well, I'm German. But so I wonder how long those efforts can last to keep those people Bosnian. I think 1 or 2 generation. I mean, my kids were born in the U.S. We come here very often. We come here far more often than most people do.
And do you think that plays a strong role into?
That plays a strong role in their Bosnian identity. But funny enough, I was talking to my son, and just a couple days ago, and I don't remember he was playing some game. And he was choosing the nationality for his player, and I said, "Pick Bosnian. You're Bosnian. You're from Bosnia or something like that." And he said, "No, you're from Bosnia. I'm from, the U.S."
That's alarming.
It's alarming.
How did you let that happen?
I don't speak with him anymore. I've cut ties.
That's why he did not show up in Istanbul.
That's why he wasn't. I've cut ties with them. I hear that he's staying somewhere on the streets.
Oh wow!
But yeah, I mean, I've just been thinking about that, because when you go to a lot of the mosques in St. Louis that are Bosnian, they will do a lot of their program in Bosnian, and I understand, because it still has a lot of people that English is not their first language. And then the other side of the argument is, well, we don't want our kids to forget. And I support that 100%. But then it's this fine balance of the people you're talking to, the teens. Bosnian is not their most comfortable language. They're understanding, a percentage of what you're saying on that deeper level, because this is not their natural language. So it's that balance, it's that balance, and I'm curious to see how it plays out. And as I live there, I have that in the back of my mind. If I stay in America and my kids stay in America, it's only a matter of time before the last name is the only thing that remains of our Bosnian heritage.
Aldin, do you know Sead Kolasinac?
I do.
Do you know what his father told him when Sead was about to make a decision which nation he's going to play for?
I don't. I wasn't there.
He was choosing between Germany and Bosnia. His dad said, if you choose Germany over Bosnia, I'm giving up on you.
Okay. Okay.
There's no more links between me and you.
Wow.
So Saad knew he had only one choice to make, and he did it.
But he was still bitter about that, to where he scored an own goal against us.
It's important to participate, not to win.
Yeah, man, it's one of the things that, you know, I think people don't really think about. They just kind of go through their everyday life, and then years pass, and generations come and go, and not that it's a bad thing to assimilate if it, you know, if I don't know. I mean, it's not innately a bad thing for your people to become American. There's nothing wrong with being an American, but if that's something you're proud of and something that's important to you, it's important to understand that it's only a matter of a couple of generations before, if you live anywhere in the world, you know, your offsprings will just become that.
Right.
Yeah.
American life versus Bosnian life, in brief. Things that you like the most about each, and also things that you dislike the most about each.
People find time for each other more here. Like, you go to a gas station and there's a cafe where they'll serve you coffee.
And there's Irfan there.
There's Irfan. There's Irfan there. The U.S. doesn't have that. You know, last year, Alan and I were discussing this. There is no gas station that has a cafe that people sit down for coffee. Starbucks, the drive-through is more busy than the inside.
Wow.
Right, which is it's telling.
It is.
You know, because coffee is what you socialize over, and you know, a lot of times when you walk into those Starbucks, you'll have a couple Bosnians being, you know, part of the 7 or 10 people that are inside. So that's the you know, one of the biggest differences. People here still make time for each other. They still make time for that break to sit down, to catch up, to chat. People in the U.S., I feel like a lot of people just fall in this, I need more money. Well, why do you need more money? Well, to buy a newer TV. And you know, well, your TV is fine. It's 2 years old, 3 years old. Well, yeah, but this one has more megapixels than the one I have, and the black color is more black than the one I have, so I need it. It's definitely a more materialistic consumer culture, and it doesn't celebrate or promote social gatherings. It doesn't celebrate or promote, you know, people hanging out. So you see more productivity, you see more driven people, you see more innovation, you see more success, you know, if you measure it on materialistic gains. But here you see more rahat, joy, however you would.
Do you think when it comes to this, you know, gas station thing and a coffee and socializing, do you think we're somewhat overdoing it? A lot of people say that.
The argument can be made, yeah. I've been working since I was 15 or 16, like full time, not like, you know, the biggest gap in between my jobs in the last 20 years is less than a week. And that's, you know, I left one job and then I started another one a few days later. So for me, that's just the way of things. And when we started operating here and I started getting applications, one kind of sticks out still. A man that's married, has a kid with 0 work experience. And I asked him, well, what's your work experience? He said, none. You know, that you would just not see in the US. So there's nothing innately wrong with people going out for coffee. That's fine. But, you know, when that's a way that people live, and it's like, as long as I have a few bucks to cover a few cups of coffee, I'm good. it's dangerous for a society and for people to grow and prosper and achieve things. So a balance needs to be made. It's weird in the U.S., even though, you know, I come here and I see the other side of it, and I like the other side of it, which is that find time for each other. Often when you go back, you fall right back into that, you know, rat race, right back into that hamster wheel of being in America, which is, you know, work more so you can buy more things, and then work more so you can pay for those things.
But you don't quite get to enjoy those things at the end of the day.
A lot of times,
you're constantly chasing something. Right?
Yeah, a lot of times that happens, yeah.
Right. Aldin, what do the people misunderstand the most about you?
I don't know. What is your biggest assumption of me, and I'll tell you if it's a misunderstanding or not.
You're unlike any of the past employers that I've had in terms of how much you're involved with the everyday operations. You know, I sometimes question myself, how much does this guy love this to be involved this much?
Yeah. I love it. I've had jobs for, you know, 15 years of my life, and I've not liked any of the jobs I've had. And I remember waking up every morning and thinking, like, man, I wish I didn't have to go to work. And then, you know, I started doing this, and honestly, I have not had one day in the last 8 years of doing this where the day dragged on. Every single day, at the end of the day, I look at the clock and I go, man, I wish I still have 4 more hours to do this. Yeah, it's I don't know if that's a good thing. You know, I don't know.
We should run a poll.
I don't know if that's a good thing, but that's how I view it, you know, and it's a blessing, and I love that I have this.
Some interesting points, or actually questions, raised by our audience specifically for you.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
How many thousands of questions came in? Thousands upon thousands.
I had to create, you know, a separate reporting sheet to you know, I had to create some metrics and monitor the trends.
I think some additional staff was hired to sort through the questions.
Yes, indeed. But we had a hard time picking some. But here is something interesting for you. You mentioned poetry at the beginning.
And what? Mention what?
You mentioned poetry at the beginning.
I did.
You mentioned when the book comes out, where is it going to be available? That was a joke, but here's a question which is not a joke.
Okay.
If you were about to write a book,
okay,
what would you write it about? BHX?
No, I mean BHX is one of the it's one of the ways that the ideas that I want to, you know, practice will manifest itself. Mm-hmm. And I love personal growth. You know, I was speaking with Munir about this a couple of days ago, and I was telling him that I have the blueprint to become the person I want to become, right? Like, but it's the discipline that's lacking to do the things that I need to do, that I want to do. But if I was able to follow that blueprint, then, I mean, sky would be the limit, you know, so BHX, I hope at the end of my life is you know, not the summary of who I was, but I hope that it's one of the ways that, you know, what I was able to do manifested itself. Mm-hmm. So I hope and I pray that, you know, Royal Blue Services becomes, you know, similar, goes on a similar path as BHX, mm-hmm. where we can, you know, create opportunities for people in Bosnia, real quality opportunities where they'll receive training and they'll receive support and they'll be, treated with respect and dignity, and they'll feel a sense of, self-worth going to their job, and they'll feel and believe that they work for a place where, that appreciates what they're doing, and that as the company grows, so will they. Mm-hmm. And I hope that we can bring in additional customers and clients and give them the benefit, right? Like in what we do with BHX, I often tell dispatch, my motive on booking a load was never how much we were going to make off of it, but it was, I have a driver who's relying on me, who trusts that I'm doing my best to give him the best load possible, and I'm going to go after this load for him. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we always, that's how we make our money and grow as well. Mm-hmm. But the intention was never, for us to, let me book this load so that way we will make our X amount. So similarly, I don't want to bring in clients for Royal Blue Services for the sake of Royal Blue Services having a client, but instead I want to add value to a client's situation and their operations and show them, look, we can do this better than you're doing now. When people think about outsourcing, money is the number one thing they think of, right? I'm going to outsource because it's cheaper. Well, I want money to be the secondary topic, and I want the quality to be the first topic when I speak with when we speak with clients for Royal Blue Services in the future. We have a nonprofit organization, BH Foundation as well. And we've been able to do a number of really amazing things with it. But it hasn't been put in full force. It hasn't, even picked up, and it's not doing, even operating at 5% capacity of what it could be. Mm-hmm. So I want that to become something that is actively, participating in helping people around the world. So far what we've done with it is a number of our drivers donate 1% of their pay to BH Foundation. Mm-hmm. So if they make $1,000, they donate $10 that week. And we've donated to communities in Somalia and in Bosnia and in the US, pretty much from where our different drivers are from. So that's kind of, I guess, what at the end of, my life, when I look back, whether it's, that book question you asked, or just me sitting there, with my family around me, just reflecting on my life, that's kind of what I hope, it is. I hope that I can grow to be the person that I want to be, through that self-development and through that growth and all of that. And I hope that the organizations and the people that I've been involved with have added value, have grown through value rather than grown through, fluffy marketing. Mm-hmm. Like I said, if the aim is not for Royal Blue to get 5 new clients just because it gets them, and then those people are looking at their bottom line thinking, well, really we're not, Royal Blue isn't doing anything for us. Mm-hmm. So yeah. What about you? What's your book about, Eva? Are you still writing the book?
I didn't start.
You didn't start.
I have a major problem of choosing the subject.
What is the top 9 subjects you've narrowed it down to?
I have this great passion for the soccer.
Okay.
When I look back at the time when I started watching and understanding the game, that was some 25 years ago. A lot of it has changed on my end, and a lot of that understanding and philosophy has translated into some other spheres of my life. I want to write a book about my choices, and later on the reasons why I consider they were not exactly good ones. But I think every one of us would have, reasons to write such a book. Right?
I've thought about that. If you could meet a version of yourself from 10 years ago and discuss a topic which you've changed your mind on. I'm really curious how that conversation would go.
Right.
What part of soccer history is fascinating to you?
I like that period. I would say from 2002 and on until 2007, 8. There are two reasons behind it. One is I believe there was a much greater passion in the heads of football players towards the game. There was
Sure.
more passion. Today, I believe the passion still exists today, but as soon as they reach that fame level, it drops.
Mm-hmm.
It all becomes about money and marketing and all. There is no passion anymore. They're not there for the fans. They're not there for the audience. Rather, it all becomes business. Back in those days, you could feel, you could see the obvious artifacts of passion being present
Sure.
in their everyday life on the pitch. It was much more obvious than it is today. And I think the other reason is the fact that, for me as a child, that was, those were the first years of me following it.
Yeah.
And, when you start something out, it's the sweetest in those.
Who are your teams?
Well, locally, FK Sarajevo, number one. Admir knows that very well. Internationally, I would go for Real Madrid.
Okay.
So, two pretty big names
Yeah.
in their respective markets.
Yeah, I grew up supporting Sarajevo, but I have no idea why. I don't know why I chose Sarajevo over Željo or...
You have a chance this Saturday to revisit the stadium.
I've never
the game.
been.
Maybe you'll find the answer there.
I've never been.
You have a chance.
When is it? What time?
Saturday.
What time?
I believe 8 p.m. Subject to change, but it'll be confirmed.
I might go. I've never been to a...
That's a good one, see?
And then I grew up supporting AC Milan, and I have no idea why. I don't know what brought me to them. I don't know.
That's an odd one, I must admit.
Yeah.
You mentioned having a chance to speak with an older version of ourselves. Now, let me play that around a little bit. If you had a chance to speak with one historical figure, who would it be and why?
One historical figure. That's a question that I would go back all the way to the number one man to live, Adam alayhi salam. So it would be very fascinating conversation to find out what heaven was like, since he was in heaven, to find out what he thinks about the current world, about current events, about what people are running after and chasing. And it would be very, very fascinating, I think. What about you?
I'm thinking about two names, one of which is a historical figure and the other not quite. I would meet with Donald to tell him not to run again.
Okay.
Jokes aside, I would love to meet with Alija Izetbegović.
Yeah.
I would like to see what's inside this man's head to chase such a big goal and give Bosnian people their true identity, give them the independence. Because, throughout our history, we've always been under somebody's rule. And he was a man that chose that path knowing there's going to be a heavy price to pay.
Yeah.
And, the final stage of that process, which were the 90s, that impacted all of us big time. I would like to understand how does a man deal with such times and challenges.
Do you think the size of the heaviness of the price of the cost was known?
I believe he had certain projections, but I don't think that he was expecting things to play out to such extent to which they did.
Yeah.
You always hope that it wouldn't be that bad.
Right.
Because the 90s were really awful.
Right. right. And it's crazy to think about one person having to make that decision, even with any amount of predictions, but evaluating both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
And determining.
Think about it. You're one man which has the fate of his own nation in his hands, and much of the big players in the world not quite on your side or even against you. And you have extremely unfavorable situation where it's not just about you not getting that independence, but it's about someone wanting to biologically neutralize your people.
Yeah.
So I think it was a very challenging and very responsible position. And I think understanding how he thought at those times and how was he making his choices and decisions would be a very, very interesting subject to explore.
Yeah.
Aldin, BHX, the real book that you've been writing for so many years now. New chapters emerge all the time. But let's go from the very beginning. How did the whole idea of BHX begin? What created BHX? What reasons, what factors played into that?
The idea is 100% of my father. Mm-hmm. He was in trucking for 15-ish years, and he saw an opportunity with the cargo vans. Mm-hmm. So he had suggested, that we do that. He sold his truck. He purchased a Sprinter van. And, the rest is kind of, history, as they say. We, through Googling things, figured out how to create a website, open the company, and began looking for loads. One thing that one benefit is I don't really think about what could happen in a bad way too much when I make decisions. So we both, left our jobs and dedicated 100% to this, which, looking back at and seeing the way it played out and how it could have played out, at the time I was married. I believe I had one child, and my wife and my mother were the only ones that had some kind of a stable job. And then even my wife had to then quit in order to, dispatch us at times. And but a lot of people wouldn't have made that decision, because they're thinking about, well, what if it doesn't work out? So, luckily we didn't, let that slow us down. But I remember it took us, I believe, about 10 days to get our first load of just me bidding from 7 a.m. until 11 p.m. on every single thing that I could. And even that bidding process was completely clueless. Like, you don't know the terminology, you don't know where to find loads, it's literally Googling, where do I find loads for a cargo van?
It's like you suddenly spawn into a whole new, unfamiliar world. And
still, 100%. And just, through resilience and just Googling around and trying to do this and that, God paved this way for us, and we are where we are now. But I remember that first load we did, the van number was 001, and the shipper, this was after, like I said, 10 or maybe even 15 days of looking for a load. The guy loading us was asking, well, what's up with this 001, And I jokingly said, well, because one day, we'll have hundreds of vehicles, and that's why it'll be, we'll need 3 digits for the numbers. And, when I said that, it was 100% joke. I don't think any part of me really said it in a meaningfully, it would be like now saying Royal Blue Services will have hundreds of clients. I can jokingly say that or hopefully say that, but do I believe it anywhere? Do I see the path on achieving it? It's kind of murky, right? Mm-hmm. So same thing. And that's kind of how that started.
Mm-hmm. Aldin, I wanna ask, when it comes to all the achievement that BHX has made so far, and this is one extremely rich and interesting journey so far, what surprised you the most?
It's been a long journey. It's been a lot of learning on the go. It's Royal Blue Services has been a twist and churn that wasn't really part of the original plan, and that added a whole new dynamic to it. But perhaps because one thing I always wanted from pretty much as soon as I became a working professional, quote unquote, was I hope to be able to create opportunity here in Bosnia and to do some kind of a business. And to have that now, I would say perhaps is that answer to your question, to have been able to do that here and migrate our operation here and for it to run as seamlessly as it does, where no customer is aware unless we tell them that we're not somewhere in the US. That's how perfectly everything flows together and it is in sync.
Right. And we're not even in some of those countries that are usually common for U.S. companies to outsource to. We're actually in Bosnia, an answer that they pretty much don't expect, right?
Right, right.
You mentioned earlier that it took 10 to 15 days to find the first load. You also mentioned that many people are somewhat afraid or lenient to start such an adventure of starting their own business from the scratch and all. When you look back at that time from this position, what was your hack? What was the hack that allowed you to go through that period and create what we have today?
Man, I don't know if there's a hack. While we work and create things and we do what we're supposed to do, I also have a belief that what we have is not a direct, response to the amount of work or if we deserve it. I believe that God gives us things that He wants to give us, and He gives us success when He wants to give it to us, and He gives us failure when He wants to give it, and He facilitates a way for you to begin a project, or he allows you or facilitates a way for you not to begin a project. I've met and I've had friends that are far more capable than I am, far smarter than I am, that have tried different things and they've failed. And I've seen people that are far dumber than I am that are more successful than I am, so that topic, I can say the things that I've done and the things that I think have helped us succeed, but with saying so, the real answer is we are here because the way that I experience it anyways, we are here because God has allowed us and facilitated a way for us to be here. Mm-hmm. There's been plenty of cases where, perhaps if something went this way instead of this way, the whole thing would have crumbled. Like in fighting, I heard a UFC fighter say, well, I zigged when I should have zagged. Like I went this way when I should have gone this way, and therefore I lost the fight. And that's what it is in fighting, and that's what it is in life. And those series of events over the years, God knows how many times that maybe we were, seconds away from losing a customer that would have put us out of business, or we placed a bid on a shipment and we were seconds away from getting it or not getting it. So, things happen. But the things that we've done is we have been relentless in achieving things. So if we want to figure out how to build a website, I've gone on and I've gone to different websites where you can hire freelancers, and for a low rate you can have somebody build a website. And then when it came to the logo, I put up on a website where you can create a contest, and somebody developed a logo, and then I hired someone else through another cheap
Such
little
a long
website
process.
to perfect that logo. And when it came to figuring out how to open a brokerage, well, you jump online, you Google around, you call people So just kind of moving forward. I think that there's blessing in kind of moving forward. Like there's if you just stationary about something, if you say, well, I want to do this, but I don't know how to do it, so I'm just not going to do it.
Momentum.
Right, just ride the wave of momentum, and things will happen.
A lot of people try to justify, or maybe I should say explain, the outcomes of certain things by mentioning luck.
Sure.
But luck has to be earned, right? I like to argue, and I want to ask, how much do you agree with this statement? I like to argue that the hard work that exists within this structure and this company is the main driving factor behind our success. How much would you agree with this?
That's all that you can do to... I have a generally different view on the outcome of things than a lot of the world now, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think the outcome is in your hands for anything. I can intend to get home after this, and I can drive safely, and I can wear my seatbelt, but I can't control the outcome of that. I may get into an accident and not get home, or I may get a phone call from somebody telling me to go somewhere else, and I don't go home, but I go there, right? So I don't think the outcome can be controlled, but I think what we can do and what we do here is work hard, and we value, those correct approach to things. We don't lie to customers. We don't steal from drivers. We don't mistreat anybody. We look for ways to fix mistakes that we've made. I think as I said earlier, one big distinction between BHX and RBS, through association, and anyone else in the industry. And when I say anyone else, I'm talking about customers that are 100 times our size. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about customers that keep us alive by giving us work. But the biggest difference is our approach to customer service, our approach to, treating drivers with respect and dignity, and our understanding that, because in this industry, often the drivers are complaining about dispatch, and dispatch is complaining about the driver, and the customer is complaining about the driver, saying the driver's lazy, and the driver is complaining about the customer, saying the customer's a liar and a thief and this and that. So, we aim to kind of create better synergy between everyone and make the customers, take into account the customer's needs and put in significant amount of work to tend to their needs and to take care of their needs. But then also do the same thing with the driver, to understand his situation, right? Because it's not easy to be up all night driving and to be driving through ice and snow and this and that. So we take the driver's, situation into account, and we speak with him, with respect and dignity. And then if something gets screwed up somewhere, we handle it through honesty, just saying, listen, customer, this is what happened. Mm-hmm. The driver overslept. It is what it is. I'm not going to make up a scenario about how he had a flat tire or this or that. What happened. Let's move forward in whatever way we need to. So yeah, I mean, kind of a long answer, but
And honesty is something that you consider that lies with the main principles that BHX in the culture here.
it has to. It has to. Honesty towards customers, towards dispatch, towards business partners, towards drivers, towards everybody. Honesty and treating people with respect and dignity. But like I said, the amount of customer service focus we put, customer experience, we really aim to do everything, with excellence and prestige as our gold standard says. We value people, complete tasks with excellence and prestige.
Indeed,
Yes.
indeed. Aldin, we live in an age where change is so important. We live in dynamic times.
Yes.
I've been here since November 2020.
You have?
It's gonna be 2 years very soon.
It's been a glorious 2 years.
Yeah, man.
It's been a 2 years where the quality of my life has been better due to you being present.
It has come into its shape.
Yes.
Pleasure to hear that. Anyways, I want to say this. One thing that I've strongly learned and observed in this environment is that BHX as a company has been very dynamic. It has changed a lot, and it will continue to change in its pursuit of improved services and procedures. Now, in the age that we live in, how important that is, and how does it translates into our everyday productivity and operations?
Yeah, I think the only way for companies to continue to be successful is if they're willing to evolve and adapt and adapt, not adopt. Adopting is when you adopt a child. Companies don't need to adopt anyone, but they do need to adapt. Really, if you look through the top, most successful companies, you'll see that common trend, that they are evolving, that they are changing, that they are, keeping up with the latest needs of the market. So, same thing with BHX. That's one area where we are aiming to always get better and better at as well. Timing the changes and developing things all the way through. This has really been a journey of a lot of trial and error. I had no business experience as a business owner. I never had experience working under a good business owner. I never had a mentor in that sense of the way. Everyone involved with the business, my father had been a truck driver and he understands, basic principles, and, within the world of trucking, he understands how drivers think and how to keep them happy and that kind of stuff. But, a lot of the rest of it is just sort of trial and error and me trying to, learn from the various resources that I found, But yeah, right now we're going through a huge change, and we're really on path to become a very unique company that offers its drivers something that no one out there has. And it's a big thing to say, right? Because the trucking, the transportation industry is the biggest or one of the biggest industries in the U.S., right? So for me to say that we're going to offer something that no one else has sounds kind of crazy, but we're building an app for our drivers that gives them like the ultimate control over their experience, and it allows drivers to say, you guys dispatch me on the best loads that you can find. Don't bother me with offering me loads, just give me whatever you want to give me, I trust you. Or it allows people to say, send me every single load offer that's in my area. If I like it, I'll bid on it, tell me what price you think I should bid, and that's what we do. We send them the offer to their phone. We give them the market value, what price we think is realistic for them, and they have the opportunity to increase or decrease that price. They have the opportunity to change the time if they need more time to pick up or deliver on time, and they can submit the bid or they can decline it altogether. And then we also offer kind of an in-between thing where somebody can say, well, listen, if the load goes to this area, you guys decide, don't bother me with asking me if I want it or not. If it goes to this area, then send it to me and I'll decide. If it goes to this third area, I don't ever want to go there. I don't care what the load is, so we don't even send them those loads.
Right.
But then we went a step further and we added additional parameters where a person can say, well, I want these loads that go to these areas, but I want it to be under a certain mileage, and then they can put the maximum miles. Or they can say, well, I want to make sure every load pays at least X amount of dollars, and then they put $500, and any load that we give them would be $500 or more, right? So I don't think anyone out there has gone to those depths, and that came from me having experience being a driver and having 8 years of experience of speaking with drivers, listening to what they want, listening to what they say and what they don't say, kind of reading between the lines and figuring out the perfect system. So the idea is to create an experience for everybody that's exactly what they want. If there's somebody out there who wants to only operate in Texas loads that are less than 500 miles but pay more than $500, then they'll have the ability to churn on that setting, and that's all that we'll give them. And if somebody else wants to go anywhere in the U.S. and they don't have any restrictions and they don't want us to bother them with load offers, then they can turn that on. And the beauty of it is they can change the settings as many times, as often as they want to. So maybe Monday, I feel like going anywhere and I turn on the whole US and Canada and I make it green. And maybe on Tuesday, I find out that, someone back home needs me or they're sick. So then I say, well, I'm available, but only for loads that are 500 miles around my home. And then maybe on Wednesday, I find out that, I can go anywhere again. And you can change these settings on the fly. So that's kind of the idea behind it, yeah. And, yeah.
Awesome. Now that we discussed the app and, which I believe is a very core of our development for the past period that's behind us, and which will be for the upcoming months with, iOS and Android releases and some added functionalities. What else can we expect in and around the development of BHX moving forward?
We hope that with this app, it's going to open the doors for even further kind of standardizing, monitoring performance. We hope that we're able to track for our customers on-time performance and reward drivers that are on top of that list, and work with drivers that are on the bottom of that list of being on time to deliveries. And ultimately, if we have drivers on the team that are harming our customers, they are then at the same time harming the performance of the rest of our fleet. And if there are drivers that are not reliable, we want to identify and if they're unable to fix their behaviors, then part ways with those. And we believe that that'll lead to better business from our customers, and greater stability with our drivers. Ultimately, we want to be a company where when a driver comes on, he stays on for the life of his driving career. We don't want to have this rotating door of drivers. And due to certain limitations in the past, where we have not been able to operate loads-wise the way that they wanted us to operate, at times it's been that rotating door, where in a year period we bring on 100 drivers and we lose 100 others. So we want to eliminate that. We want to be a safe company. Safety is probably more under the microscope here than many other carriers out there. We monitor if our drivers are excessively speeding, if they're displaying other characteristics of an unsafe driver. Mm-hmm. And we have programs in place where, again, we reward safe driving, and then we identify unsafe driving. And we have a protocol where if a person is continuously, displaying those characteristics and ending up on the bottom end of those reports, we work with them. We provide them with resources. We provide them with self defensive driving courses that they can take to better understand the importance of adhering to speed limits and paying attention and not using your cell phone and things like that. One of my biggest fears, since opening the company is getting a phone call from a hospital or from the police saying that one of our drivers is been involved in a fatal accident. Thank God I haven't had that, and I pray to God that we never do. And we're gonna do everything in our power to prevent that. We're going to enforce our safety policy, even if the rest of the trucking industry loosely maybe has a safety policy that they have enforced. We're going to make sure we keep only drivers that do value safety, that do value adhering to certain speed limits and staying off their phone and avoiding fatigue driving. And that's the goal. The goal is to add value to our customers and for our customers to trust us when they give us a load, for them to have a peace of mind knowing that BHX is going to pick up, deliver on time. They're going to have great communication if anything goes wrong, and we can call them 24/7. That's as simple as what customers want. Reliability and good communication. Exactly.
Right.
And then from the driver's side,
Go ahead.
From the driver's side, we want to create a space where they're respected, valued, where they can make as much money as they want to, but they can still adhere to a schedule that they want to. They can be home when they want to be home. They can go to states and where they want to go, and where the company is going to encourage quality performance and is going to encourage safety and is going to reward them for these things. So, in a nutshell, that's it.
And since you mentioned safety and the rewards linked to the performance, one example being the rewards program, which doesn't only cover safety, it covers a lot of other things, such as on time, such as communication with the dispatch and the customer, milestones in terms of how many miles or loads the drivers have completed, recoveries as well, which mean a lot to us. Speaking of recoveries and generally our fleet, I like to say, and this is not just me adding value to the relationships with our drivers, but I really objectively feel that in our fleet we have some really decent people.
We do.
People.
We do.
We have had a lot of situations where help was needed, whether through a recovery or something else. They were there. They helped in a situations which were not practical or completely economical, but they realized a colleague of their own driving for the same company as they do needs help. Company's images on the line, they stepped up. I know we all had a lot of those situations. Aldin, you also had those, most likely, with the drivers. Can you single out one of those and what exactly happened there?
Man, I can just speak on drivers that have been with us for years, have been around, and have helped us in numerous situations, and have had cases where they've bit their tongue and not made a big deal out of something, and they've had cases where we've had to bite our tongue and not make a big deal about something. To me, the biggest accomplishment is when I see a driver that's been with us for 5 years, for 4 years. To me, the biggest accomplishment is when I get on the phone with the driver and he says, "Listen guys, you guys have the best staff in the world."
Aldin, is there any question that I didn't ask you but you wished to be asked?
I can't think of one right now. You've asked quite a few questions. I've provided quite a few answers.
But don't you worry, there's going to be another
Go ahead.
chance. We'll revisit the subject. We'll
Yes.
revisit the guest.
Yes. Yeah, this is fun. I like this idea of doing this show, and as it evolves, we're gonna figure out, like everything else, we're gonna get better at it. But our drivers, specifically our fleet, is a diverse bunch. I don't have the number, and we'll add this maybe in post-production. This is the amount of different nationalities that we represent, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were 30 plus different nationalities that are employed here. So everybody has a unique story to tell. Some of our drivers have amazing stories from their home countries, ways of life that are different than what our viewers might be aware of. And then of course the coming to the US and the struggles with that they went through, and I think some of the prior guests kind of shared that. One that comes to mind is Ala Farid explaining kind of his journey. But yeah, this is fun, man. This is fun, and the idea is to host, to have guests that are our drivers, that are our office members, that are partners in
Hopefully
the business.
customers as well.
Customers, partners from the business, and really kind of develop it into something where it's entertaining, educational, informative, all at once. And you do a phenomenal job at it.
Thank you, Aldin.
By far the best host that On the Show's had.
We'll see where it goes in a 1 year time from now.
Yes, sir.
I also hope that we'll be able to develop this show further and do it on a much bigger scale. Aldin, for the end, to kind of wrap things up, a lot of eyes are on you right now, our drivers, customers, our staff as well. What would your message be to all of them out there?
There's a lot of different, needs that, as I said earlier, BHX attempts to take the needs and the wants and the desires of the customer, the driver, and everyone else. In my position, I have to balance the needs and the feelings and the desires of the customer, which is sometimes very different than the drivers, which is sometimes very different than the dispatch. I do that the best that I can. I have an amazing team around me, and one of the biggest blessings that I have is a team that keeps me in check, where often those that are closest to me are able to openly tell me, hey, you messed up there, you crossed the line with this conversation, this is a wrong direction to go. But ultimately, all of the decisions that I make are with the best intentions of all of the parties involved. And sometimes, like I said, a decision, an initiative, a policy is rolled out that perhaps one side of that group doesn't understand, or thinks it's against them, or thinks it doesn't take into account their situation, or whatever it may be. But ultimately, all of the actions that we take are from an angle of, what is the best for this whole thing. Example I've given is, if you imagine a square, and each side is different color, right? And in order to really assess the square, you have to take it and rotate it. And then when you ask me what color is it, I would say, well, this side is red, and this side is yellow, and this is white, and this is blue, right? But oftentimes, people are only looking at the side that applies to them. So a person is saying, right, a dispatcher might be saying, no, it's red, because that's the angle that they're looking at, and the customer is saying, no, it's white, because that's their angle, right? But having the ability to take it and rotate it and understand that it's different colors there, and each person is looking at it from a certain angle, that's where BHX is different than others in our desire and our ability and our execution of that. And that's kind of how I go through, into decision making. So just that, I guess. I don't know if that even answered any question or not, but it's a good analogy that I like to throw out.
Well, ask people. If it doesn't, they will be back with more questions the next time you're a guest here. Aldin, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. I hope we'll have a chance to have a part 2.
We will.
Maybe sooner than later.
We will, tomorrow.
And since you mentioned you do FIFA with your son,
yes,
you'll be challenged probably, because I'm a master.
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
I'm not.
You're gonna have hard time.
I play FIFA, but not to play FIFA. Like I love sports games, and I always do the same thing, which is the club management. So picking a club, selling players, training players.
I do that a lot.
That part of it. The game itself, I'm horrific at. So you probably...
We'll see how horrific, though.
Okay.
It'll be fun, if anything.
We'll do it. We'll do it.
You promise, your word.
I promise.
Aldin's word. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching another episode of On the Road Show. Spectacular episode, as we had Mr. Aldin here with us in Royal Blue Services in Sarajevo. I encourage all of you to stay tuned with our content across all social media channels for more on-the-road episodes, more social media content of BHX, including the upcoming video of our Istanbul trip. Stay safe out there, do well, and I'll see you all next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.